Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to Presence of Light with Charlie Riverman Bergeron. And I want to thank you all for showing up uh, and know that um, every Friday when I wake up, which sometimes is difficult these days because of my journey with COVID, um, it's the first things that come to my mind are what I end up talking about. And this morning, when I awakened, there was high winds and we had rain, heavy rain last night. So there was all of this sort of energy in the air that made me wonder uh, what's really going on? What's happening? Where am I? Uh, who are we? What are we facing? What is happening around us that's keeping us in this state of questioning, of fear, of disappointment, disillusionment? And why are we always questioning everything at this point? Anytime, excuse me, anytime somebody tells us something or gives us information, we are questioning everything. And it came down to me that it's really a state of insecurity in many ways. And insecurity is something that we have experienced ever since childhood. Many times by accident or unaware parents of what they were doing. Uh, Again, we didn't come with a full manual of how to bring up our children. And we would do things and we instilled a deep insecurity in our children. And if we look at our own selves as children, we can realize that each of us have a form of insecurity that is left over from childhood. Good morning, Victoria. Bless you. Thank you for letting me know that I'm live. Sometimes the computers just drive me crazy. But so that's part of my insecurity. um, so insecurity comes from not knowing, not understanding. It's not something that's negative. It's a natural energetic process because that's it's rely our survival relies on knowing what to do and when to do things. So today's topic, questioning or seeking, is really, are we enhancing our lives by all the questioning that we're doing? Or do we need to flip that into seeking better solutions rather than questioning what we're being given? So that's where I began my morning, and it was, in the heavy rain and the high winds and my foggy mind. So the question that arose was this: was who are we, and what are we facing as our future appears as a time in it as time? Let me read that again. Who are we and what are we facing as our future appears during a time of great changes? And that's really where we are. And I awoke thinking about uh, the Russian situation, the COVID situation, the government situations, all of these things that I have no control over, other than to pray for peace in all of those areas. And what it really made me feel was that all of those larger things are really not what I need to be focusing on. What I really need to be focusing on is immediately within me. And I think that all of you can understand that and know that this process of challenging ourselves to know everything doesn't really work. It never has worked. What it does is it gives us this memory and this mind that's filled with information. Yet, if we don't apply that information in a positive manner, it has no effect on the world whatsoever. So, what do we do? What do we do as we shift and change through this new age that we're moving into? We realize that many of the things that we have done up till now are not going to be able to be done anymore. That there's new technologies, there's new uh, inventions, there's new ways of doing things, building things. And yet there are still people who want to um, do the old way, which is totally destructive to the planet and to humanity. So, how do we make this shift into a new paradigm, if you will? And how do we nurture ourselves in the midst of this? So, it brought me to a place um, where my visions of peace for everyone were non existent. And I'm a child of the 60s. I grew up in the 60s where, you know, peace was an important part of our message. And we tried to, protest and express that in many different ways. And we were facing a world of people who just came back from war and whose life was all about war. And while they wanted peace, they were still filled with that fear, that anger that they had to go through. Their lives had changed. And in many ways, what's happening right now with this virus is basically the same, similar thing to a war, although we're not fighting with guns, yet we're faced with another episode of Russia invading another country and redoing all of that trauma that is still in our bodies, even though we're the next generation. And it brings up the traumas within us that keep us unstable and keep us questioning. So, do we question or do we seek? Card this morning from A Course in Miracles. Um, I'll hold it up here for you. Yeah, you could see it there. There are, I hope it's forwards and not backwards. There are many answers you have received, but have not yet heard. Now, when we think about that, receive but not have heard, we think of with our ears. And what the Course in Miracles tells us is that the way we have been living our lives has been all external. So when we hear from outside. And we need to shift to hearing from within ourselves. That the real true messages that we are to be listening to are not from outside of us. They're from within our hearts. They're from within that gift of spirit, however you want to look at that, however you want to envision that. But the messages come through us into our hearts. not into our minds. And then our heart relays that to the mind. And from that effect, what we do is we offer kindness, we offer compassion, we offer justice, we offer freedom, because these are the natural uh, energies of humanity. We didn't come here to go to war. We didn't come here to destroy planet Earth. We didn't come here to hate each other because we're different colors. We didn't come here to overpower each other and be greedy and hateful. I'm not going to lecture. It's just the truth. The truth is, we came here to be part of planet Earth, a collective of beings who express themselves through their hearts, not their minds. Yet, along the way, many decided, because their brain was working overtime, that they can control people's hearts. They can manipulate people. They can exacerbate fear. They can create fear. They can control people through fear. They can control people by bullying. They can control people by lying. They can control people by cheating. All of these, what we call sins, if you will, or errors, or criminal actions, are powerful. Powerful. And this is what has happened to us. We've lived in this world for how many years? Lifetime after how many generations? We can go back. We go back 7 generations. We have a history of people. Let's look at Rome. Rome marching through Europe all the way to England, conquering, killing, raping. And what are we facing now? We have Russia coming from the north, coming down. Will Russia stop at the Ukraine or want to go right through Europe? Is it history repeating itself? And if it is, even in a small part, what part of history was all of that about? It was about negativity. It was about control. It was about um, stealing something from other people, from destroying their faith in life. That's the negative. That's the negative that I woke up with today. And I'm not trying to share that with you to make you negative or to make you upset. I'm just taking a look at what we are going through right now. And denying it and looking the other way and pretending it's not happening isn't going to solve any problems or any part of ourself which needs to look at life from a new perspective. So the question arose again, who are we? What are we facing as our future appears? Let us take another look, not from one of questioning, but one of seeking. What if we look at ourselves as seekers? Instead of saying, okay, this is all I got and this is all I see, what do I seek? See, S E E. What do I look in the future for? Let us focus on the future as one of peaceful cohabitation. Yes, have separation, we have different countries, different languages, different colors, different religions. But let's look at that as sort of like the painting, the silken behind me. All those different colors, all those different forms and shapes. create this beautiful picture of a chariot riding through the dust heading to Valhalla. We are far more important than we think we are. And each one of us in this time right now have an opportunity to tap into that importance. And the importance is to release the traumas. We have the keys to the dungeons where the traumas are held within us. We not only carry the traumas of our own, we carry the traumas of our ancestors. And by repeating them, we just keep it going further. So each one of us, I ask each one of us to take a look inside this heart of ours and find out where the suffering is and honestly release it in order to take a look at the world as something we can change for the better for everyone, not just a few, not just a few leaders, not just for a few wealthy people. When we look at life from the perspective that it's okay to be ruled by people who have no respect for us, all we're doing is inviting them to hurt us. We are sovereign beings, each one of us. We have the gift of power within us, each one of us, to stand up and be loving and kind to each other, to the planet, to the animals. We're not here to plunder. We're not here to rape. And I know that each one of you that are here today know that in your heart. And this is why what's going on and happening right now is hurting so deeply. Allow that hurt, allow that disgust, allow those negative feelings to be the fire that ignites you to stop trying to figure it out with the brain and to drop back into your hearts. Drop back into your hearts so that you can feel and release. Because the brain just keeps spinning it around and around and around. We just go over it and over it and over it again and again and again. It's like a broken record. Release it. Release it through your heart. Now I've come into the heart because this is where my journey this morning took me, although it takes me there all the time. We're seeking to find our true self. There's a true self, a place of stability, a place of affirmation, from where we can be confident. We can be confident and kind, both to the world within us and the world around us. Each one of us are seekers. What are we seeking? When we think of seeking, we think of our brain and we're seeking from the mind. I'm looking for something. But truly, seeking is not in the mind. There's only questioning in the mind. We seek through our hearts the connection that we're looking for, the engagement with each other that we're looking for is our hearts. We want to feel and see each other from our hearts, where there's communion, where there's laughter, where there's joy, where there's pleasant experiences. Not all this destruction, not all this chaos, all this fighting, this arguing, this name calling. Grown adults, some of them in their 70s and 80s, acting like third graders. If your kids behaved the way that our leaders behave, you'd send them to their room. I would. And I tell them until you can become civil again, don't come out. If you want to talk rationally, if you want to discuss what's going on in a equal frequency, then we can have that conversation. But the screaming, the kicking, the swearing, the name calling, the wars don't work anymore. So we are seekers through our hearts. We seek not from the mind. We think we seek. Hear the word think? True seeking comes from our hearts. The brain only knows questioning. It gathers information, without which we couldn't even have this conversation. This is the gift of the mind, that we can write, we can elaborate, we can do all that we can do. But the real power and the real source of who we are is in our hearts. I know that each of you know this. I'm not trying to lecture. I'm just trying to recommit us all to recognize that we are seekers through our hearts. Because it's in our hearts that we recognize what is best. What is best for not only ourselves, but best for everyone. And how good it feels when we do something loving and kind for another person. And how sad and dismayed we might feel when we recognize, ooh, I said the wrong thing, or I shouldn't have said that, or we know the difference in the harmonic vibration of the energy. And that's what I want to bring this up, is about the energy of the heart, the energy of who we truly are, the place where we should be seeking relationship from, not from the head, but from the heart. And it's called heart resonance. Heart resonance is an electromagnet. I'm going to read this because it comes from the Heart Math organization. Is an electromagnetic field that has its own functional brain or heart brain. So there's a brain of what we think of a brain, a part of our heart that has the power to create more energy than the brain. And in many ways, it guides the brain and directs the brain. It communicates with the brain. And it has communicated with the brain since we were in our mother's womb. So it's important for us now to recognize the difference of when we think from our heart and when we think from our brain, and start to recognize the differences in the two. It's just a simple case of observation. I'm not asking anybody to go crazy to try to fix everything in 1 minute. I'm just looking and saying, ask that question. Is my heart in this? Do I feel loving kindness when I react or do this? Or am I feeling distortion and scatter? Learn to recognize when you're speaking from your heart or when you're speaking from your mind. And know that there's a place where the two meet. And we eventually bring them together into wholeness. And they work together. And when they work together, they create a powerful force of energy that extends from our bodies. We shine. It's like light. We shine. We become something that people say there's something different about you. I don't know what it is. But they feel it. They know it, even without saying a word. Take a deep breath. Yes, the heart has an electromagnetic field that has its own functional brain. And it's important right now for all of us to recognize the difference of what we do when we listen to the heart or we listen to the brain. And many of us have had our hearts broken. And we've had our hearts blocked off because of negative choices from the human brain. And each one of you know those traumas that you've been through. And I ask you to let them go. Say to yourself, I no longer need to mourn over this. I no longer need to fear this. I no longer need to have this memory, this program in my brain stopping me from being the loving, kind, respectful, true being that I was created in my mother's womb. The brain works in zeros and ones. It's just like this computer. It gathers information, whatever information we allow to be put in there, and it stays forever. Unless we go in and delete, 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 delete. What happens when the brain crashes like the computer? Everything goes haywire. All that information gets jumbled up and mixed together, and we can't make a rational choice anymore. What's happening in the world right now is with all these electromagnetic fields that these computers, 5G, all these sound waves that they're putting out there, they're creating a distortion that the brain is receiving. And this is why we're all having challenges with making decisions that are best for everyone. We need to come back into our hearts. Our heart is the first organ that came online in our mother's womb. It started communicating to the brain. not the brain to the heart. The heart started speaking to the brain. The heart is our most powerful source of electromagnetic energy, not the brain, no matter how hard you think. Your heart has more electromagnetic energy. It produces the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field of any of the body's organs. The heart's electrical field is about 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity generated by the brain. That you can look up in HeartMath. That's what I'm quoting that from. These are people that have been studying this for years. They're not talking about nonsense here. And the key to our future is really through our hearts, not our heads. When we start to make decisions from the heart, global heart team, from that heart, everything in our lives will change. It doesn't mean we give up thinking. The thinking it's a beautiful calculator, it's a beautiful encyclopedia, it's a beautiful tool. But it's only as beautiful, it's only as wonderful to us as humans when we balance that with the heart and that communication system between the heart and the brain come back online. This is an inside job. Each one of us have the opportunity right now to look at, to find ways to do that and be kind to ourselves. Don't be frustrated or challenged. I got to do this. Allow your heart, allow your heart to open, to be vulnerable. Yes, it may be painful at times. We may have tears. We may apologize to a lot of things we do. But it's all about us coming back home. Coming back home to who we are as human beings. Not robots, not cell phones, not computers to be used as tools. Living, loving, caring, kind and compassionate human beings. I want to see all human beings be comfortable, be able to have food to eat, a place to sleep. This is 2022. We are in the age of Aquarius. Change is going to happen. A lot of people who are in control are no longer going to be in control. And they're not going to be happy. But the key is we as individuals who dive into our hearts and live life from that heart space, resonate with the future that we don't even know yet, while they are stuck in the past and cannot move into the future, no matter how much they scream, how many bombs they blast, because we move into the future to our hearts. I hope some of what I've said today, this morning, has made some sense to each of you, and if not, that's okay. I'm not here to lecture anybody or to really, or to uh, put anybody on edge. I just speak from my heart, what comes from me, what my guides help me to look at and experience, and to let people know that if you might be thinking similar things, you're not alone. There's billions of us, not millions anymore. There are billions of us who are seeking the truth within our hearts. And even though we may not connect with each other, by connecting into that energy field, we are connected. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. We are unity. One heart. One love. These camera things are always upside down or backwards for me. And the key for all of this is never lose your sense of humor. Be able to laugh at yourself. Don't be so pompous and righteous. I'm just like every other human being. I am you. You are me. Blessings, everyone. We have sunshine here now. The wind is still blowing, but the heavy rains are gone. And it's about 50 or 60 degrees here in the southwest coast of Maine, which is not our usual weather in February. So we're going to take it as a gift and say thank you, Mother Earth, Father Sky, and may each of you deepen into your hearts and know how much you really have to offer to each other, to your children, to your grandchildren, to your elders. And that's where we begin. We begin in our family circle. And I know many of you don't speak to your members of your family. And for some, that's not going to happen because it takes two to make the connection. And so in that case, we pray for them. We offer them love anyway. Y'all have a great week. See you next Friday. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on my blog. You can find me on YouTube, where all of these are posted when I get time. And they're always posted here on Humanity Healing. So thank you, Humanity Healing, and thank each and every one of you for being here. See you next week.